Do you know what the Continuing Certification Requirements Program is? The CCR. It's collecting PDUs for keeping your PMP valid. And this is in fact so much easier than this complex name I just mentioned. And in less than 10 minutes, you will know all the details about it and how easy it is to get your PDUs. Hey, I'm Sascha Wyss and you're watching 10-Minute Biz. So I think we can all agree that we find collecting these PDUs a little bit annoying. But there is actually a very good reason that PMI does that. It wants to ensure that our certification, for which we worked very hard, is still valid. And how valid would it honestly be if we, for example, 10 years do something completely different, forget everything about project management, and then apply based on the PMP again for a project management role? Would we really still know what this is all about? And so that the employer knows that we're still up to date, PMI created this PDU program. It wants you to be regularly in touch with this topic, stay up to date, what's new and trending in this area, and just continue learning. And when we talk about learning, PMI has created the talent triangle, as they call it, because they see 3 topics which are relevant when it comes to project management. And it wants that in all 3 areas we advance. Now in this slide here you can actually see all topics distributed in these 3 areas, and you can stop the video at any time or come back here to look at which topic belongs in which area. So much the theory, but now how do we really gather the PDUs and how much do we need? It's quite easy. For the big certifications, PMP, PgMP, PFMP, you need 60 PDUs in a 3-year cycle. For the smaller certification, like for example risk management, agile and so on, you need 30. And for the rest of this video I will talk about one of the big certifications like the PMP. So I think easiest is we go now to pmi.org, to the certification within my profile, and I will show you based on my PMP example what you have to collect. And if you have already a PMI certification, you can also do that with yours. So as you can see, we have in the upper half a green section and in the lower half an orange section. The green section is education, the orange section is giving back. And while the education section is mandatory, giving back is optional. So you can actually gather all your 60 PDUs with education. And I would assume that PMI would even be happy if you're doing that, because they want you to learn as much as possible during the 3 years. But as a minimum, you need 35 PDUs in the education section. In addition to that, in all 3 areas of the leadership triangle, you need to have at least 8 PDUs. So 3 times 8 is 24. And then the other 11 PDUs you can do in whichever of these 3 areas that you like most or where you anyway have trainings. Now for the other 25 PDUs, you can either also, as stated, do them in the education section, or you can do it with giving back. And what does giving back mean? On one side it means you work as a project manager. That gives you, in this 3-year cycle, already 8 PDUs. And then for the rest, you can, for example, volunteer at a PMI chapter. You can give a presentation about project management for a project management community. You can write an article for the newsletter of your PMI chapter, and so on. So giving back means giving something back to the project management community. And I myself volunteered for about 9 years at the PMI Switzerland Chapter, and quite honestly I felt I got more back from them that I really put into it with volunteering. So volunteering at your local PMI chapter, it's something I can absolutely recommend. So but now let's talk about education, because that's usually the big topic. How do I get to these education PDUs? And you might get mails or messages over LinkedIn where organizations offer you for a small amount to get the content for these PDUs. And I also hear that a lot of times that people perceive getting PDUs as an expensive thing. Sometimes this perception leads them to not gathering the PDUs and actually lose the certification, which is very unfortunate. So to make it very clear, you do not have to spend a single dime on getting your PDUs. Now, the first way how to get your education PDUs is through training. And obviously, when we talk about a classroom training, a traditional one, this is something very expensive. But there's a million other ways to do trainings. For example, at your company, they might do with your team a leadership training. You might still be in university, and your degree has some courses that touch areas which are within the knowledge triangle. That counts. I just recently used classes from my MBA to get PDUs. And then last but not least, in our days, we have so many online trainings like Coursera, like LinkedIn Education, like Udemy, like EDX, and so on, which are a lot of times for free. And if they touch on project management topics, you're in. So even in this area, there's a lot of ways to get for free PDUs. Now, but let's say you don't do any trainings. What then? Did you know that reading project management books gives PDUs? If you read for an hour, you get a PDU. If you hear an audiobook about project management or a related topic, you get PDUs. Now you might tell me, do you really think I want to read for 60 hours about project management? Seriously? And given you watched this video until this point, I give you now the greatest secret. PM Podcast. I will put the link in the description below. It's a page where you can hear very interesting podcasts about project management. It's 100% free, and for each podcast you're listening to, you get PDUs. So this one page solves all your issues. And it's highly interesting. It's very great topics. You can choose what you're interested in. So for me, this is the best way how to get your PDUs. If you acquired already the PMP, then have fun on gathering your PDUs. And if you're still evaluating if you should do the PMP, then have a look at this video, which will tell you everything that you need to know about the PMP. See you next time.